Dude, I've never seen this before. What is this?
This is the font booth from the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Crazy. Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and I am back on a plane, this time traveling almost 3,000 miles from Seattle to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The main reason for this trip is to check out the TooManyGames Expo, of which I've heard amazing things about. But I'm traveling all this way, so I want to make it count, so I'm spending some extra time checking out the local area. So join me while we check out the TooManyGames Expo. We'll do some touristy sightseeing in downtown Philadelphia. We're going to try some amazing local food. And at the end of this video, I'll share with you some of the cool things I picked up. Let's take a look. I was very excited to finally visit Philadelphia. It's one of those things that if you're an American, you've heard about the city your entire life. And Philadelphia holds a special place in American culture because it's the birthplace of the United States. I mean, this is where the signing of the Declaration of Independence was, and also the drafting of the U.S. Constitution. And I've never been, so this is going to be a great opportunity to check it out. I'm staying in the Lowe's Philadelphia Hotel, and when I checked in, I was like, hey man, it's my first time being here. If you could give me a room with a view, that would be awesome. So this is the view of my room on the 20th floor. What a way to start this trip. This view is absolutely incredible. And the location of this hotel is perfect for me because as a tourist, I want to be able to get around fairly easily. And so this is in basically downtown Center City. Within walking distance of my hotel is the first place I'm going to check out, which is the Reading Terminal Market. As you can see by this footage, this place is massive. So this opened originally back in 1893, and it's one of America's oldest continuously operated public markets. So in Seattle, we have Pike Place Market. Here in Philadelphia, they have the Reading Terminal Market. And what's cool is that there are over 75 independent merchants in here of all types. I was kind of blown away by this because I didn't really know what to expect when it comes to, Philadelphia food other than the cheesesteaks and the pretzels, but they have so much more in here. Pretty much every food type that you would ever be interested in, from like Japanese food to Indian food to American food to Greek food, Italian, they have it all here. At this point, I wasn't super hungry. I was really just kind of looking for a snack and kind of walking around to see what I wanted to try. But hey, again, I'm in Philadelphia. I got to try a pretzel, and I've heard that this place called Miller's Twist is amazing. So here, every pretzel is hand twisted, and they do it right in front of you as you're standing in line, which is cool. Some other things about this is that they're kind of known for their breakfast, and so fans of their breakfast that live in the area know to show up early to make sure that they can get them before they run out. And I guess this place has won a bunch of awards, so I stood in line. I was very excited to try it, but I was playing a little safe here. I just basically got the pretzel dog with some soft cheese. I have to tell you, starting this trip off, this was a great little snack. Next thing I wanted to check out is something I think every tourist has to check out when they're in Philadelphia. You got to go check out the Liberty Bell. Now, the cool thing is that if you want to go see the Liberty Bell, it's free to get into. You basically just have to stand in line, and then you go through a metal detector, and then you walk through this fairly short hallway, which has a bunch of history on the walls to kind of give you some context to it. But again, you've been hearing about this Liberty Bell our entire lives. If you live in the US and you grew up here and you went to school, you are hearing about the Liberty Bell, so it was very cool to stand in the same room as that iconic piece of American history. And honestly, you don't really spend that much time in here, maybe about 10 or 20 minutes if you do want to read stuff and kind of get some context, which I do recommend. So it's not necessarily worth waiting a long time to get in. Obviously, if you can come on, like, say, a weekday or early on, stand in line like I did. But just be aware, there's not that much going on here, and you get through it fairly quickly. After that, I started kind of walking back towards Center City and get back to my hotel. It was very hot that day, very beautiful, kind of walking down these random streets. And I just stumbled upon, completely by chance, this Old Pine Street Presbyterian church with this historic graveyard. And this was completely open to the public on a side street. Like I said, I just happened to kind of just wander past it and went in here because I was kind of curious about it. And you find out that it was founded in 1764 and that 200 American Revolutionary soldiers were buried here along with other tradesmen and stuff like that. And you can tell these things are old because air pollution and weather have worn down many of these over the centuries. They're almost smooth. They don't even have the words on them on some of the really old ones. But then you would stumble upon something that was significant, like this William Hurry. Never heard of this guy, but I guess he was a famous bell ringer back in the day and was part of the Revolution. So it's wild to see the Liberty Bell and then also tie it just a couple blocks away to people who actually worked with this stuff and were, again, a big part of American history. And as you walk around Philly, all over the town, you see these street signs with this historical information and context for you, which I found very fascinating. It's really cool to see these and kind of help you understand the history of where you are standing. I love this idea, and they were everywhere here in Philadelphia. It was really fun to kind of just, again, walk around and discover these. However, I'm getting a little hungry, so it's time to try those world-famous Philadelphia cheesesteaks. And I stumbled upon, I want to say this, I hope that I pronounced this correctly. It's Ishka Bibbles. Hope I'm saying that right. But this is one of several famous little sandwich shops, restaurants in the Philadelphia area. And for my first proper Philadelphia cheesesteak, I do want to just kind of take it easy, and so I basically just got the regular with chopped onions and also cheese on there. I did eventually put on some hot sauce on it just to kind of jazz it up a little bit, but yeah, very tasty. Did not disappoint. And so I kept walking around Philadelphia. It was really fun just to kind of see where these roads will take me. I walked past the first U.S. hospital, and then several blocks later, or probably like 20 minutes later, I was at and standing in front of the Philadelphia City Hall. What's cool about this is that they had this thing called the Portal there, which is an art installation that has real-time cameras to another portal around the world, and these are running 24/7. So there's a camera pointing towards you standing in Philadelphia, and then there's another one at another place in the world, and you're interacting with people in real time. And so these can be thousands of miles away or even on the other side of the world. So it was pretty neat. I had no idea that this was going to be there. I've seen these before on the internet, but I didn't realize that they have one in Philadelphia, and you can just walk up to it and just interact with people. It's pretty cool. After that, I kept walking around Philadelphia and found myself in front of the William H. Gray III train terminal. Now, this is very famous. This is a transit hub that was built back in 1933, and it's mostly known for its inside soaring grand concourse. There's like 95-foot ceilings in here, and it's absolutely gorgeous. This is still one of the busiest train stations in the U.S., and it's fully active, and there's a lot of people waiting in there, and people like me who are tourists are kind of walking around. This has shown up in a bunch of popular Hollywood movies like Witness. I believe it's also in Trading Places and The Happening. At about this point, I'm starting to get hungry for dinner, and I wanted to try some Chinese food. So they have an entire Chinatown section of the downtown area of Philadelphia, and I heard that there is a Szechuan place that is really good. And in there, I got some don don noodles and also some mapo tofu, both of which were very good. I love don don noodles. If you've never had them before, they are a great way to start your adventure of learning about Sichuan food. And of course, Mapo tofu is always excellent. That was pretty much it for my first day in Philadelphia. And just look at that view outside of my hotel window. Wow, that's amazing. Getting up the next morning all refreshed, and I hit up a local French bakery that I heard about. They had some really tasty stuff in here, including a Nutella and banana crepe. Oh, this is so good. Next, I visited Repo Records. So this is a chain of record stores that has been around for 40 years, and they specialize in punk, rock, and indie releases. I like how they have a section dedicated to 90s grunge, which makes it easy for, like an old music collector like me to find more of the stuff that I'm kind of looking for. In the back of the store, they have these old concert poster reprints. So these are old rock, metal, and punk shows that have happened in the local area that they've reprinted and people can buy them. I thought these were pretty cool, and they would look great in a media room or a game room, along with your music collection. Put those on the wall. That would rock. And I picked up a couple albums here. Mostly I started with some soundtracks, some movie soundtracks that, to be quite honest, I'm kind of surprised I didn't have already in my collection, but they had them for sale here, so I did pick up a couple of those. As well as this album, I'm going to try to pronounce it, Azine de Poitrine. Very weird avant-garde music, but I saw that they had an album out and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta own that. And there's just so much more to explore in Philadelphia. Again, I spent a couple days just walking around, exploring the city, wandering into parks, going down random roads, kind of just taking it all in. And that's what I love to do when I travel like this, is just kind of give myself over to it. Not try to plan too much, right? Kind of know where the good stuff is, but, also kind of just let it happen, And I was having a lot of fun here. One of the things I definitely noticed that there's a lot of cool statues of famous Americans like Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin here. There's so many. They're just sprinkled throughout the city. It's funny because I read later that there are over 200 statues of just Ben Franklin alone in Philadelphia, not counting any of the other famous Americans, that helped build the city and our country. So yeah, I had a great time in city center of Philadelphia, but it is time to now head a little bit outside in the greater Philadelphia area because it's time for the TooManyGames Expo. TooManyGames is a 3-day event that takes place about 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia in a town called Oaks. And they invited a bunch of content creators here, not just from YouTube, but also voice actors and artists and, developers and all sorts of stuff. And they basically put us all in one hotel that's actually in a really nice rural area. So again, very different than Philadelphia itself. This is a lot of green trees. It's also quiet streets, just kind of wander down. As a matter of fact, on the first morning when I was just walking to get some coffee, on the same street, I believe that's a groundhog just hanging out over there, kind of like watching me, like side-eye watching me. And then right next to it, just like a couple feet away, was a bunny just sitting there. And this expo brings in roughly 25,000 attendees every year. Now, I've been hearing about this expo for years. I've actually been wanting to go for quite a while. It's just that, again, it's so far away from Seattle that it's hard for me to get all the way over here, plus the time difference and all that. But I'd heard many good things. And the cool thing about this one is, and I noticed it immediately, is that this one is very much focused on video game collecting, which is great for someone like me. And what I mean by that is that lately, over the past decade or so, you've seen a lot of expos kind of mixing it up a little bit. They start off as very collector focused with video games, but then over the years they've been mixing in other stuff, pop culture, art, that sort of thing, which is fine actually. It's great because I'm into all that stuff too. However, coming here, I was like, oh, wow, this is really focused on video games. Now, there is some of that other stuff there. Again, don't get me wrong. It's it's mixing that in, but not nearly. I would say this expo is probably 80% video games.
Look at this guy.
extreme. Oh my God.
And what I've found over the years is that every expo is just a little bit different than all the others, which is really fun, right? You know, in some parts of the country, an expo will have a bunch of DS games for some reason. It's just, you know, that's what they got there. In other expos, they'll have, you know, a ton of Famicom games or Japanese imports and stuff like that. So I asked around, and I was kind of curious what people were saying is hot in the collector market right now in the Philadelphia area. Everyone was saying PlayStation 2, GameCube, and even the original Xbox, which I was like, really interesting, because the original Xbox is finally having its day. People are starting to get nostalgic for it. You know, for a long time, original Xbox were dirt cheap. Nobody seemed to care, but yeah, it's kind of cool to hear that. Another thing I noticed is that there are a ton of PSP games at this expo. Now, there was over 600 PSP games released in North America, and I'll be honest with you, you could find a lot of those at many of the booths here. And not just common stuff, but some of the truly hard to find releases too. I mean, if you wanted to build a PSP game collection, this was the weekend to do it. Now, this is pretty funny. At one point, Brian from Regular Car Reviews showed up with his 1963 Ford Galaxy 500, which is his tribute to one of his favorite games, Crazy Taxi. And he was just letting people get in, and he was driving them around. You know, it was really awesome, actually. And I just happened to walk out there, and he was there. So I hopped in the car with some other people, and we just cruised around the parking lot in this tribute to Crazy Taxi. You know, it's got the yellow wrap on it with the checkerboard down the side. Yeah, this was pretty fun. Later on that night, we went to a little pub, and I forget the name of it, but we met up with James Rolfe and all his friends. Now, of course, most of you will know who James Rolfe is. He's the angry video game nerd. He's part of Cinemassacre. And essentially what he was doing here was a tribute to World Cup. And so he was doing beers around the world.
Scream for me! Fitzgerald, Pennsylvania! Swirsky and
And so the idea here was that he would open the can and everyone would get a sip. And essentially it was from, you know, all these different countries around the world. And then he would look up what the cheer was for that particular country. And then everyone would say it, and then we would take a drink and then rank it compared to the others.
Slanja!
Yeah. It sounds complicated. It wasn't. It was just an excuse to hang out and have some fun. And yeah, we were having fun.
We already said Roast, so this time we say Roaststein!
It was also at this expo that I got a hands-on preview of the upcoming Evercade Nexus prototype. Sitting in the lobby, they let me mess around with this for about 30 minutes and kind of just get a hands-on preview of it and sort of early impressions. Now, if you're not familiar with this is going to be a $200 handheld coming from Evercade this October. And it's got some interesting stuff in here. So it's going to be the largest IPS screen that they've ever used on a handheld. It's going to support all 80 Evercade cartridges. So you're going to be able to play over 700 games on this thing. Some other things about this is that it has a customized LED on the front there. It's also going to support wireless headphones and speakers. It's a brighter and also more accurate screen. It's more powerful overall, and it supports vertical Tate mode, which is great. Now, I'm going to do a separate dedicated video on this in a couple weeks, but I just want to mention it here, so be looking for that extra video. Getting back to the expo, I stumbled in a room where they're having a cosplay competition, so I was like, okay, I'll check this out for a while. And basically what they had here was several different levels of skill and professionalism. So basically anybody can join, and then you can decide at what level you want to kind of compete at. This is very impressive and really fun to watch, as each one of them walked up, did a little twirl and a pose or two to kind of get the crowd going, and then walk off and kind of be judged and compared. And so, yeah, it was really cool. I had several people walk up to me who are familiar with my channel and know that I visit a lot of these other expos, and they're like, hey, how does this one compare to those? And dude, I'll be honest with you. I mean, this is top 5, if not top 3. I mean, this is an excellent expo. It really feels like this is one of the busiest and probably most well-attended expos I've been to in quite a while. There are tons of people here buying games, playing old and new games, talking games. I mean, it was just really, really cool. I was not disappointed.
I'm impressed, actually. Like, people are like, oh, it's like Portland. Yeah, it's like Portland. It may actually be bigger than Portland.
Yeah, I think it is.
There were also a bunch of big event competitions, as you might expect. There had some wrestling here, but also, some Mario Kart and Tetris events. So there's just people everywhere. It was great to see. And a lot of YouTubers and creators that you are probably very familiar with were also there. And for me personally, it's just really nice to go so far and see people that I don't really run into very often, because again, I'm squirreled up in the corner in Seattle. And so it's a long ways away from other places. And so it was cool to see some of these people that I don't get to hang out with that often. And so if you couldn't tell, I had a fantastic time in Philadelphia and also at the TooManyGames Expo. I want to thank them for flying me out and letting me go on this little adventure. But it is now time to get back to Seattle and show you some of the stuff I picked up. A fan of the channel walked up and gave me a copy of 7 Mansions on the Dreamcast. So this was originally a Japanese exclusive, I believe. This was a survival horror game that this is the English port. And so I didn't have this in my collection. I believe Reggie showed this one time on a pickups video, but now I have it in my collection. I picked up several PlayStation 5 games, including I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. So this is a port of an old adventure game that came out on the PC based on a famous book back in the day. It's an absolute wild story. I'm not going to spoil it here. It's one of those things that if you like adventure games and you like stories that have surprise, in them, and or you're not quite sure where they're going, you have to check this out. I didn't realize it had a PS5 port, so I was excited to get that. Pragmata was a game that came out recently that I've been hearing a lot about. I didn't have a copy of this. Primarily, I just didn't have time to check it out, but I figured, you know what? They got it here. It's physical version. I want to own it. I want to check it out, so got that. I also got a copy of Gris, and the reason why I got this is because I recently did a video where I was talking about games that you can complete in a weekend, and many people in the comments said, hey, you got to check this game out because it's awesome and you can finish it. It's relatively short, so I picked that up. The YouTuber 8-Bit guy was there. He had his own table set up. He was selling a bunch of stuff, including Quarks. So this is a fast, new action puzzle game that he created. He had the Commodore 64 version there, the VIC-20, and also the PET version. So I picked up the C64 version. Another fan of my channel walked up to me and handed me a couple big box PC games. I'm going to show this one right here because I'd never seen it before. So it's a 2-pack. So They Call Me the Skull and The Suit. So again, this is 2 action arcade games, I guess, for the PC. I had never heard of these before. I guess in here is also included an interactive comic book as well as a physically printed comic book inside here. As you can see, it's sealed, so I may actually open this one up and take a look at it. I also picked up a bunch of music-related VHS cassette tapes, and I've started buying these along with music DVDs and Blu-rays because so much of this isn't available on streaming or even YouTube because of the copyright. And the first one being, and I know it's terrible, and I know people are going to make fun of me, but I don't care. That's Xanadu. This is a movie. It's like a musical. It stars Olivia Newton-John, also Gene Kelly. It's a bad movie. However, it has an excellent soundtrack, and I grew up with it as a kid, so I'm kind of nostalgic for it. And so, again, I love the music. The movie itself is not good, but I don't care. I saw these 2 here, Skid Row and also Guns N' Roses. So there was a table set up there that had just a bunch of random music stuff in there, and I have never seen either of these actually. So huge Skid Row fan, and of course Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion Volume 1. I am also a massive fan of Meatloaf, and I haven't seen either of these, so I believe one of these is mostly music videos and maybe the other one's a concert. Or maybe promotional stuff? I'm not entirely sure. Again, never seen these before, and sometimes they'll pop up on YouTube, but again, they'll be taken down almost immediately because of copyright, so to own those is cool. Also, Stevie Nicks, in the 80s. Oh yeah, she's foxy, man. And so I like her music. You know, it's good pop music, a little bit of rock edge to it, and this is a collection of her music videos. So got these, didn't pay very much for them. That's the thing about VHS, is that they're often not very expensive, you know, like a couple bucks. And then randomly, while I was walking on the floor, this guy came up to me and I recognized the Carfax mascot. And he's like, yeah, I work at Carfax. I was like, really? If you are a car person, you've probably used the website Carfax to check out the history of automobiles. And he works there. He was, I don't know if he had a booth or something like that, but he gave me this plushie. I was like, heck yeah, love your site. And so that, guys, is just some of the pickups I got on my trip. I actually will show some of the other ones later on in a pickups video with Reggie, because some of them were gifts for him. So if you gave me something and you don't see it here, that's probably the reason why. It'll probably show up in a future pickups video. But I had a great time on my trip to Philadelphia, both checking out the city and also going to the expo. The people I met were so happy to meet me and talk to me. They were very appreciative of how far I had traveled to be there, and I was happy to do it, and I would go back in a second. Everyone I met was super nice and super cool. Had some great conversations with people, not just about video games, but also music and other things like that. So yeah, very, very exciting and positive event. But that's it for me for now. However, I got many other trips planned, other places I've never been to. So make sure and be subscribed to my channel. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Take care.